I've used PayPal and Wise for years to pay contractors, and honestly, it worked fine. It was cheap, easy, and got the job done. But as my business started to grow, more contractors, more countries, bigger projects, I realized something. I was completely exposed. No contracts, no compliance, no protection. That's when I started looking for something better and found Deel. With Deel, you can effortlessly hire and onboard employees, full-time, part-time, or contractors in 150 countries while staying compliant. But before I show you how Deel protects you, let me tell you what made me actually care about this in the first place. Not too long ago, a friend of mine hired an overseas developer to build an app. The project seemed like a success until that same developer used the exact code to release his own version of the app. My friend had no contract, just a couple of vague emails and a PayPal invoice. That's it. And honestly, I've done the same thing. You probably have too. Just message someone online, describe the job, and pay them when it's done. His story made me dig a little deeper, and what I found is that once your business hits a certain point, continuing to use PayPal or Wise to pay contractors can put you in real legal and financial risk. So what are those risks? Here's what most people don't realize until it's too late. The first risk is having no contracts. PayPal is just a payment tool, and there are no contracts unless you create them yourself. And if there's ever a dispute over scope, deadlines, or deliverables, you have nothing to fall back on, and it's your word against theirs. Now, sure, you could try to draft your own contract, maybe using a template or even ChatGPT, but here's the real issue. How are you supposed to know if that contract is actually valid? Because it's not just about the rules in your country, it's also about the laws in the country your contractor lives in. And those laws are completely different depending on where they are, and they change all the time. So unless you're a global employment lawyer, there's a good chance the contract you're using isn't enforceable and may not protect you at all. Another big risk is no legal ownership of work. Just like in my friend's case, without a proper agreement in place, there's nothing that legally transfers the work to you. That developer reused the same code and launched their own app, and legally he probably could, because my friend didn't have a contract that protected him. The same thing can happen with designers, writers, developers, anyone creating IP for your business. If ownership isn't clearly transferred in a valid local agreement, you don't actually own the work. Compliance and legal protection is another huge risk. Without contracts, NDAs, or non-competes, you're completely exposed. A contractor could take your processes, your content, or even your clients and reuse them freely. And unless you have legal documentation, there's nothing stopping them. Everyone hates taxes, and the last thing you want is to have more tax problems. If you're in the US, for example, and you're not collecting the right tax forms like W-8 W-9s, or 1099s, you could be opening yourself up to compliance issues or costly audits. And even if you're outside the US, many countries have their own reporting requirements for contractor payments. Trying to manage all of that manually is unrealistic, especially if you're hiring across borders. And let's be honest, the last thing you want to do is chase every contractor down for paperwork at tax time. Next, we have misclassification, which is a risk most people don't even realize. If you're regularly paying the same contractor, especially long-term, there's a chance you're misclassifying them. And if the government in your country or theirs decides that person should have been an employee instead of a contractor, you could be on the hook for back pay, benefits, and taxes. The rules vary by country, and it's your responsibility to get it right. But it's not just about risks, there's also the administrative pain of using PayPal or Wise as you scale. Look, paying one or two freelancers through PayPal is fine, but once you're managing multiple contractors across different time zones, currencies, scopes of work, and payment schedules, it becomes chaotic. You're managing contracts in email threads, tracking payments in spreadsheets, and praying nothing slips through the cracks. At that point, it's not just inefficient, it's risky. So once I realized all of this, I started looking for a better solution, and that's when I found Deel. On the surface, Deel lets you pay contractors just like PayPal or Wise, but under the hood, it does way more than that. It actually handles contracts, compliance, tax forms, and even misclassification risks for you, so you stay fully protected. It's basically like a CRM, but for your people. Let me show you how it all works. And real quick, because Deel's sponsoring this video, they're going to be giving you, my audience, an exclusive $500 credit that you can use towards any plan. Deel only costs $49 per month per contractor. So that means if you have 2 contractors, you basically get 5 months for free. To claim the credit, click the link below and you can grab your Deel credit certificate as you see here. Next, click the second link and request a demo on this page here where a Deel rep will walk you through the platform, answer any questions you have, and help you set it up. Just be sure to mention the $500 credit in that call. A quick note that this offer is only valid through my link, so just make sure you see my partnership page here. So your rep will help you sign up for Deel and create your company profile. And now quickly, let me show you how it actually works. And you'll see I've created a dummy profile here so that I don't have to blur any sensitive information and I can show you everything. So the first thing you want to do, of course, is add your people. So add a contractor. So go here and click people, and then you can go to add people right here. Next, you can add an employee, a contractor, or just create a profile for someone you're not working with yet. It's kind of like a CRM. It's like a database of people. Of course, we're going to go with contractor as that's what this video is about. But again, Deel also can help you hire full-time employees overseas. So click on contractor, and then you have a few options here. You can pay them a fixed rate, pay as you go, milestone payments, and you can even manage people you contracted outside of Deel. Let's go with fixed rate here for the first example. You can actually duplicate contacts if you actually have this contract and everything sort of already set up, and so that can help. But let's do a blank template if there's a new person we're working with. Now, depending on your organization structure, you might just have one group or you might have multiple groups, and again, your Deel rep will help you set that up depending on your hiring needs. And so let's say we're choosing the Australian group here, and the entity, of course, is the Australian entity. And so let's say we are making a person called Mike Smith, and this person's email is mikesmith555@mail.com. This is a temporary domain. And let's say that this is a web development contract. So we can name that contract, and they actually live in Australia, we said in this example, and you can choose a state and citizenship. So you're entering all this information, what Deel is actually going to use to make sure you're staying compliant. And of course, you can assign a manager and who they report to in a department. This is all optional, but I will leave it alone for now. Now, you can also assign a role. You could say that they are one of these things here, and that's going to help, right? You could say they are look for their closest role, which is going to help here. They are a web developer. And what's their seniority level? Let's just say they are a manager level. So like they're a mid-level professional. And what I love here is you can actually write the scope of the work with AI. So of course you might actually have the scope you've already created somewhere else. But if you don't, you could say update our business website, and then you could just say generate with Deel AI, and in a few seconds it's written out this entire scope for you. And of course you can modify that, or again, if you actually have the real scope, of course put that in. And then let's continue here, and we are actually not going to pay them in US dollars. We're going to pay them in Australian because that's what they want, and they're going to make $5,000 US for this website update. And then you can choose various policies, and let's just go with monthly fixed right here. We're just gonna pay them monthly. Again, there's so many other options you can choose, and you can modify this like the end of work cycle, invoice due date, so on and so forth, depending on the terms, the dates, and you can see when does their first payment start, so you can change that to make sense. And we're just gonna pay them the full amount. And you can even set on target payments if you want. Now right here, Deel's telling you about misclassification, and you can click on that and you can learn about the misclassification risks in Australia. And so that's really handy to know, and it has some other coverage options. I'm gonna skip that. And then Deel's going to help you create an agreement. You could do a custom template or use your own agreement, but Deel's actually doing this agreement for us. So we can click on this agreement and we can see it's made, of course, we're not gonna read through this for time, but it's made a relevant contract based on where you are and where they are, and one that makes sense for the job you're hiring them for. In this case is a web developer. Next, there's a bunch of mandatory and optional compliance documents that you can send along with it that they recommend. So I would always keep those on as well, and these will differ based on what you're hiring for, again, geography and so on. but Deel's taking care of all of this stuff for you and sending it to them automatically for them to complete. And of course, if you have any additional document, maybe you want an NDA or something else, you can drag that in here and Deel will also send that for them to execute, and any other special clauses you want, you can add it here. And now you have a lot of different options. You can manage everything about this employee. If you're giving them equipment or health insurance, or they can use a co-working space or equity, or you want to run a background check on them, you can do all of that within Deels. And that's why it really is, like I said, a CRM, but except for your employees. And so you can add any of these things to keep track of what you've given them if it's relevant, but for now we're just going to hit continue. And now we're ready to review and sign. You can of course review all of this, hit agree and sign. And so now your part of this is signed, and then you can invite your contractor. You would add that in here and you would do send invite. And you can even send them a manual link if you wanted to follow up with them. And then within the dashboard, you can click on him. And so you can see that you're still awaiting a signature from him. Deel also gives you a bird's eye view of everything related to all your employees and contractors, and really helps you stay on top of everything. This is the Deel dashboard, and depending on which modules you have, you'll have different options here, but I want to take you through some of the best features here and some of the most important ones most likely you'll be using. So of course you can see the payments tracker here, and we can see what's overdue. So let's say we go to review all here, and we decide that we want to pay people, and now this person is actually in euros, this person is in I think INR, which I think is Indian currency, then Canadian, this is Great British pounds. So let's say we want to pay this Canadian guy. So we click on this and we can see the invoice there and verify, okay, that looks good. Then we can click here and we go pay invoice. And then we can change our payment method if we want, but we're actually going to stick with this ACH. Let's say that's what we've set up. And then we can see how much US dollars it's going to cost us. Say we have a US company, say agree and pay, confirm. And that's it. We've paid this person in a few clicks. And so we can of course review and pay everyone else, regardless of what currency of choice they have. We'll be able to give them money in the currency they prefer. Next, you see the task list over here. And so remember, contract signatures, our new friend Mike here hasn't signed yet, and we'll be able to see that right there. So that's how you'll be able to stay on top of who has not done what and what needs to be done still and what's outstanding, so nothing slips through the cracks. Also, if they send expense requests or workforce planning, contractor submissions, so on and so forth, you can see everything here tied to your contractors. And it has a ton of other helpful information like public holidays in all the countries that you operate in, so you'll know when your contractors might be out. Then just a bird's eye view of how many employees you have from each area. And this one is a really important one, which is your compliance monitor. You go to your compliance hub and you can see that, hey, look at all of these people who haven't completed their compliance documentation yet. And so you can review and follow up with them to remind them to take care of these things. And Deel also sends automatic reminders, but you can stay on top of it as well. So Deel obviously simplifies a lot of things for you, but are your contractors actually going to use it? Because let's face it, if it's complicated or annoying for them, then they're just not going to do it, which defeats the purpose. But I'm happy to say that it is incredibly simple for your contractors as well. And let me show you that side of the experience. So here we are as a contractor, and so they can see all the tasks that have been assigned to them so that they can comply. So they need to set a withdrawal method, they need to review some pending documents, and so on. Next, they can see their balance and they can withdraw it. They can go and add a new method to take their money out, and Deel supports all the major payment platforms, so they'll always have a convenient way to get paid. Now we'll see that they also haven't completed their tax form yet, and they need to do that, and so they have a gentle reminder here to do that. And so they can see their withdrawal history, they can see upcoming payments from you, and any holidays if they requested some that they need to be off. It's all tracked here for them. And finally, they can see all of the contracts, and they can even create their own contract if you want to let them give you a proposal. So you can see how Deel is so much more than just another payment processing platform. It centralizes all your people, whether they're contractors or employees, in one place. It lets you manage everything about them in one place, from not just payments, but also all of their documents and tasks and anything else you've given them, like equity or equipment. It lets you send them tasks, and it automates all of these reminders so that you aren't left chasing people to do things or that you don't let it slip through the cracks, which can open you up to legal and financial risk. If you're just hiring the occasional freelancer for a quick logo or blog post, PayPal or Wise might still do the job. I'd still recommend putting together a basic agreement, even if it's just a simple template or something you draft with ChatGPT, and keeping it on file. It might not be perfect, but it's better than nothing. But if you've reached the point where you're building a real business with multiple contractors, especially across borders, you need a system that protects both you and your team and keeps you compliant. The cost of putting that system in place is tiny compared to what it could cost you if something ever goes wrong, and that's exactly what Deel is designed for. I focus mostly on contractors in this video, but Deel actually does so much more, from hiring full-time employees to running global payroll and scaling your team across 150 countries. So if you're even thinking about growing your team, here's what I recommend. Click the link below to claim your $500 credit and then book your demo so you can see exactly how Deel works and how it can support you now and as your business continues to grow. Whether you're hiring your first overseas contractor or building a fully remote team, Deel gives you the protection, compliance, and peace of mind that PayPal and Wise just can't offer. If you found this video helpful, do me a favor and hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more content just like this. In fact, here's a video that you're not going to want to miss. I'll see you in there.